जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जाऊं विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रवर्तिकाचार्य स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमन शिला भाई चरविंद भक्त वेदांत स्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद सद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। जय श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल। ओ ग्लोरियस assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glorious assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glorious assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glorious to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashta Putri Shmatanagan Swam Niti Namini. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashta Putri Shmati Bhakti Vedanta Swam Niti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesh Shannavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भागवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 16, entitled Jai and Vijay Cursed by the Sages. Text 11. Ye brahmanan mayidiya kshipatorchayantas Tushyadridak smita sudokshita padma vaktraha Vanya kalayatma javadgranantaha Sabodhayantyahamivahamupahritastai. Ye, which persons? Brahmanan, the brahmanas. Mayi, in me. Dhiya, with intelligence. Kshipataha, uttering harsh words. Archayantaha, respecting. Tushyat, gladdened. Hridaha, hearts. Smita, smiling. Sudha, nectar. Ukshita, wet. Padma, lotus-like. Vaktraha, faces. Vanya, with words. Anuraga kalaya, loving. Atmajavat, like a sun. Grinantaha, praising. Sambodhayanti, pacify. Aham, I. Eva, us. Aham, I. Upahritaha, being controlled. Taihi, by them. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. On the other hand, they captivate my heart who are gladdened in heart and who, their lotus faces enlightened by nectarian smiles, respect the brahmanas, even though the brahmanas utter harsh words. They look upon the brahmanas as my own self and pacify them by praising them in loving words, even as a son would appease an angry father, or as I'm pacifying you. Purport. It has been observed in many instances in Vedic scriptures that when the brahmanas or Vaisnavas curse someone in an angry mood, the person who is cursed does not take it upon himself to treat the brahmanas or Vaisnavas in the same way. There are many examples of this. For instance, the sons of Kuvera, when cursed by the great sage Narada, did not seek revenge in the same harsh way, but submitted. Here also, when Jai and Vijay were cursed by the four Kumaras, they did not become harsh towards them, rather they submitted. That should be the way of treating Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. One may sometimes be faced with a grievous situation created by a Brahmana, but instead of meeting him with a similar mood, one should try to pacify him with a smiling face and mild treatment. Brahmanas and Vaishnavas should be accepted as earthly representatives of Narayana. Nowadays, some foolish persons have manufactured the term Daridra Narayana, indicating that the poor man should be accepted as a representative of Narayana. But in Vedic literature, we do not find that poor men should be treated as representatives of Narayana. Of course, those who are unprotected are mentioned here, but the definition of this phrase is clear from the Shastras. The poor man should not be unprotected, but the Brahmana should especially be treated as the representative of Narayana and should be worshipped like him. It is specifically said that to pacify the Brahmanas, one's face should be lotus-like. A lotus-like face is exhibited when one is adorned with love and affection. In this respect, the example of the fathers being angry at the son, and the sons trying to pacify the father with smiling and sweet words, is very appropriate. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sandho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. We are continuing our discussion on how Lord Narayana or Vishnu tries to pacify four Kumaras who in great anger cursed Jai and Vijay. And as we discussed yesterday, that one should be very tolerant and in fact grateful for everything happens in his life. We can see that in this verse Lord himself explains this principle, that we should be gladdened in our heart and be full of nectarian smiles if someone curses us, even. And to be thankful. And we have so many examples from scriptures. One example is given here, also about Jai and Vijay themselves. And we also mentioned this example yesterday, that they weren't harsh towards Kumaras, although they cursed them to go to material world. But we have also experiences or examples of non-tolerating behavior. Can you remember? Lord Chaitanya, he was not tolerant.
When it's come to Jagai Madai, when they kick Lord Nityananda.
Yes, this is very good example, especially because the devotee was offended, because Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are as master and servant, and Lord Nityananda always acted as a servant. But when we see the example of Nityananda, he accepted it very humbly, their beating. And in fact, Lord Nityananda was hurt, was bleeding, but he was praying to Lord Chaitanya to forgive them and to show them mercy, yes. And that he even pointed out that Jagai saved his life. Yeah. So he was extremely tolerant, extremely tolerant. Who can be so tolerant as Lord Nityananda? Yes, and in fact, when he and Haridas Thakur were going to different people and asking them to chant the holy names of the Lord, you can imagine Haridas Thakur is Brahma himself, and Lord Nityananda is the Lord, by whose breathing everything in creation is destroyed. So extremely powerful personalities, two most powerful personalities, are walking around and humbly ask people to chant the holy names. And if they did not want to chant the holy names, they were falling at their feet and humbly asked them, please chant, please chant. And many times when people were even harsh to them, and they drove them away. So we can see how tolerant is the Lord himself. And here, of course, this example we discussed also with the sons of Kuvera. I cannot remember that they have an opportunity to be angry with Narada Muni. But still, when Krishna saved them, they could be harsh toward Narada Muni. They would maybe want to avenge, but they didn't, and they were very, very grateful to Narada Muni because the curses of great souls have always auspicious consequences. But we can see that in the assembly of Daksha, they were not so tolerant. For example, Daksha became extremely angry at slight disrespect of Lord Shiva. But if we know the position of Lord Shiva, this was not disrespect, because Shiva is much higher than Daksha. Uh, and Daksha, because he was a great personality himself, should definitely know this, the position of Lord Shiva. But because the Lord was the husband of his daughter, he considered himself superior just because of this formality's sake. And he dared to curse Lord Shiva. Can you imagine? So, because he was so proud, he cursed Lord Shiva, and then counter cursing started from both sides. Of course, Lord Shiva gratefully accepted the curse, and he went away. So this should be example for us. When we hear some blasphemy, we should not tolerate this, and we should go away, especially if the blasphemy is against us. But if the blasphemy is against other devotees, we should certainly counteract in some way or another. Like this is example of Nandi and Lord Chaitanya himself when Lord Nityananda was beaten. So we should try to punish the offender if possible. We know from scriptures what measures are recommended. Not for ourselves, but for devotees. The offender should be, his tongue should be torn out, and then we should drink hot ghee and kill ourselves. But if not possible, we should at least walk out and not to be in this assembly, because the ladies of Mathura explained that when there is a dharma in some assembly, everything is affected, especially if the king is the cause of a dharma. The whole society is doomed. And we have many examples of this, how whole kingdom is destroyed. For example, when Lord of Kashi was siding by with false Vasudeva Pandraka, he was, of course, he was boasting when he was going out of the city of Kashi. He was boasting how he will bring the head of his enemy back to the city. And of course, Lord Krishna fulfilled his promise. He killed Lord Kashi in such a way, Lord of Kashi, King of Kashi, that his head, Lord of Kashi's head, flew into the city of Kashi. So he fulfilled this promise of the king of Kashi, that he'll bring the head of his enemy to the city. And the worst enemy of the city was King of Kashi himself. So Lord Krishna fulfilled this promise and shot his arrow in such a way that tore off his head, and it flew into the city of Kashi. And then his son was so upset because his father was killed by Lord Krishna, that he himself prepared a yagya for killing Krishna. And he wanted to pacify Lord Shiva and get help from him. And Lord Shiva, of course, he knew the desire of this younger Kashiraj. And he gave him a boon, but he explained that this demon that I will create, this fiery demon, can be directed towards one who is offenseful towards brahmanas. And he, this Kashiraj Jr., yes, he thought that Krishna is offensive towards brahmanas because brahmanas are bowing down to Krishna. So, so he directed his demon towards Krishna. And Krishna didn't bother with the demon. He was playing chess or something. And the inhabitants of Dwaraka came running towards Krishna because this demon was terrifying and destroying everything on his way to Dwaraka. And they said that this extremely furious fiery demon is coming. Please help us. We'll all burn to death. But he just disposed his Sudarshan chakra. And Sudarshan chakra although the demon was fiery, this chakra was even more hot than the demon. So scorched the demon. So the demon came back and killed the son of Kashiraj himself. And then Chakra was following him and burned then whole Kashi to the ashes. So we can see how this offensive mentality has severe consequences. And also Daksha, who was offensive towards Shiva, he lost his head and received a goat's head. And also others who supported Daksha and were counter cursing the Shiva's associates were also punished severely. But we have many examples of this mild behavior, and one of the greatest examples of this mild behavior is Lord Krishna himself. And for example, when demigods and brahmanas were glorifying Krishna, Durvasa Muni heard this glorification and he wanted to test Lord Krishna if he's really so great or this is just a story. So he went to Dwaraka and wanted to test how humble and tolerant Krishna is. So he was very demanding in his he had great demands, in fact, and Krishna and Rukmini personally served them, his demands. And he was very satisfied with Krishna because Krishna was always submissively serve him, and Rukmini also was submissively serve him. And he wanted different things, but he was always served very nicely. And then he was served kheer, that means sweet rice with milk. And he ordered Krishna to apply this kheer all over his body. And inhabitants of Dwaraka were shocked to hear this demand of Durvasa Muni. But Krishna very happily applied this kheer all over his body. His own body, yes. And then Durvasa wanted to have a ride all over Dwaraka, and Krishna immediately brought chariot to drive Durvasa around the Dvaraka for sightseeing. But Durvasa demanded that Krishna and Rukmini should pull the chariot, not horses. And again, the Dvarakavasis were completely shocked to hear this. But Krishna and Rukmini just drive horses away, and they themselves were pulling the chariot all over the city. Very happily. And then Durvasa could see how really tolerant Krishna is. And we discussed yesterday about how Bhrigu Muni were testing different personalities, and he tested Lord Shiva, and he wanted to kill him. and Brahma, he was also couldn't tolerate his Bhrigu Muni's disrespect. But Lord Vishnu was completely tolerant, even though he committed most grave offense towards him by kicking his chest in the presence of his wife. Usually, husbands cannot tolerate if they're offended in front of their wives, especially. But he was offended in front of his wife in their intimate moments on their bed. But Lord was so tolerant. He was begging pardon from Bhrigu Muni, and massaged his feet, because he said that my chest is so hot, and you must have hurt your delicate feet by kicking my chest, hard chest. So that was not the end of the story with Durvasa and Krishna, because Krishna, when he was applying this kir all over his body, he forgot to apply on his heel, to apply it, and therefore Durvasa cursed him that because you didn't apply this kir, I'm otherwise satisfied with your service, but because you didn't apply kir on your heel, you will die through by an arrow to your heel. So we can see how and Krishna happily accepted this curse also with a smile. And Narada Muni also accepted curse of Daksha, because Daksha again, after in his next life, became offensive again towards Vaisnavas, and he cursed Narada Muni that he cannot stay in one place, because he considered, because he was grihasta, in fact more grihamedi, that house is the highest pleasure for everyone, to have some place to stay, that you can enjoy there your life. So he cursed him that you cannot stay anywhere. But Narada Muni very happily accepted this. And Lord Chaitanya himself is also example of how tolerant he was. He was cursed by one brahmana, because brahmana tore his Brahmin thread, because he was not allowed to come to Shrivas Angam to chant with the Lord and other devotees. He tore his Brahmana thread, and he cursed Lord Chaitanya that all his material happiness will leave him, and so he will not have any material happiness whatsoever. And Lord took it as a boon to take sannyas. Yes. So we can have innumerable examples of greatest personalities, how they accepted a harsh treating from brahmanas and Vaisnavas. And of course it is explained in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we also cited this verse maybe yesterday or the day before yesterday, I don't know. Tate nukampam susamikshamo bunjane vatma kritam vipakam hritvakva purubir vidatanamasti jivita mukti pate sadaivak. That Lord is so satisfied with this tolerance in every reverse of in our life, that if we have this proper attitude and pray to the Lord, and we gratefully are thanking the Lord that He has put us in such position, that the liberation becomes our rightful claim. And Lord Chaitanya explained when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who became a devotee, wanted to change this verse to from Mukti Pade to Bhakti Pade. And this was also very interesting because he was staunch impersonalist, but when he became a devotee he could not tolerate the word Mukti. And he wanted to change verse from Bhagavatam itself, from Mukti Pade to Bhakti Pade. But Lord Chaitanya explained him that Mukti Pade means Bhakti Pade, that he shouldn't change verses from Bhagavatam. Because Mukti is attained only by Bhakti. And in fact, Bhakti itself is Mukti. And there is no Mukti without Bhakti. So Bhakti and Mukti are synonyms. And people wrongly understand the concept of Mukti, and they think that Mukti is something separate from Bhakti. But in fact, as explained by Lord Chaitanya, it is the same. We can never have Mukti without Bhakti. And there is no Bhakti without Mukti. Because Bhakti immediately means Mukti. And here the Lord is explaining that one should look upon the brahmanas as Lord himself. The Lord loves brahmanas so much that he's prepared to do anything for brahmanas. And he in Bhagavatam and other scriptures, he warns everyone how detrimental it is to be disrespectful to our brahmanas, or to do any harm to them, even. For example, there is a story in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam about the king Nriga. Can you remember the story? Nriga was extremely generous personality who was recited by brahmanas and other great personalities who were glorifying different personalities. And he was glorified by these different high personalities because of his generosity. He himself explained to Lord Krishna later on that he was giving in charity so much cows as there is stars in the sky, or as much as there is grains of sand in this earth. So, so extremely generous personality, and he always gave brahmanas great donations, but he was not Vaishnava. Um, and in this story, this many different instructions. And one time he gave some brahmana 10,000 cows in charity. But there was one cow that went astray from its herd, from her herd, and came to Lord Snigra, King Nriga's herd. And so he gave this cow also to that brahmana, unknowingly that it belongs to some other brahmana. And then when this brahmana was leading away these new acquired cows, this other brahmana came and he said, "This is my cow, you cannot take it away." And that brahmana said, "But I received it from King Nriga, it's mine." And then they went to King Nriga to decide. And Nriga immediately understood in what heavy predicament he's in. So he asked them to both of them to be merciful towards him and to give him this cow for exchange for another 100,000 of cows for both of brahmanas. But they didn't want to exchange this cow. So they just walked away, both disappointed with King Nriga. and when King Nriga died, he went to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj said that there is no limit to your pious deeds. But there is one defect, and he mentioned this giving cow in charity to both brahmanas, or taking a cow from one brahmana, in fact. And he gave him the opportunity to choose if he want to first suffer the consequence of this offense, or he can enjoy unlimited years in heavenly planets. But he chose first to suffer the consequences of his offense. And so Yamaraj said, "So be it." And he became a lizard in Dwaraka, in some deep, dark well in Dwaraka. And then the boys, the sons of Krishna, were playing with the ball, and ball fell into the well. And so when they wanted to take it out, they saw a huge lizard inside, and they wanted to take it out, but they couldn't. So they called Krishna, and Krishna just pulled it out with his left hand. And then this lizard immediately was transformed back to celestial personality, in fact. And then Krishna, of course, he knew what happened, but he asked him to explain for everyone's benefit, to see how dire consequences have offenses towards brahmanas. Yes. So, and here it is example how we should praise them, even if they offend us, brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Even if they offend us, we should be very cheerful and happy and praise them. Not just tolerate them, but praise them. With loving words. Can we manage this? Yes, we should train this. We should train our consciousness and we will certainly will be put in such um, in such tests in our life, because Krishna wants to test us, and by this testing us, he prepares us for spiritual understanding, and this is a training for our consciousness to become really Krishna conscious. So, and here's the example. Even as a son would appease an angry father. So, in Kali Yuga, there are many sons who fight with their father. Maybe also, yes, physically, but verbally, much more than physically. Yes, in Kali Yuga, especially. But we can see here, Krishna, Vishnu is giving an example that this is normal behavior for a son to appease his father with sweet words.
Smile.
Yes, and smile. And other example is giving himself, as I'm pacifying you. As I'm pacifying you. So he was, although he was glorifying the brahmanas, although he was pacifying these four Kumaras, and he was nevertheless always mildly reprimanding them. Can you see from Lord Vishnu's words?
Yes.
He was very mildly, he was, by glorification, he was reprimanding them. Because he was explained, yes, one should be very tolerant and happy, even if there is some offense towards them. And they were offended by Jai and Vijay because they weren't allowed to go to Vaikuntha. But they became extremely angry and they cursed them, although they were Lord Vishnu's personal servants. And here he explains how one should be tolerant, even if something happens, and and we should behave like Jai and Vijay, who didn't counter curse you. So they were behaving correctly, and you weren't. Yes. And you should also take my example, my personal example, because I'm also not angry at you and not cursing you back. You cursed my own servants, but I'm not cursing you back. I'm just trying to pacify you. Like, you should take my example because I'm pacifying you. So you should be thankful and grateful for everything that happens to you in your life. So this should be instruction for us, of course. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of instruction for us. So in every lila, we should ask ourselves how these teachings applies to us, how we can become better devotees, what's there to learn. So please be patient. Be patient and grateful for everything that happens in your life. Hare Krishna. Is there any questions or comments? Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. I was just reflecting of the curse, and then how we have to be tolerant. And then you mentioned about how, like, if a devotee or a brahmana is offended, especially if he's offended by a king, the whole society will be spoiled. And from my life's experience, I actually get a curse. I call it a curse, but sometimes it's a blessing. I got it from Bhakti-yoga Maharaj. It was our first meeting in Jagannath Festival in Durban. He asked me, why don't you go help your people in Congo? I was just like, no, Maharaj. At that time, I really hated Congo. I didn't want to go to Congo. And he said, like, no, can you go and help your people? I said, no, Maharaj, I can't go. And then when I came back in Cape Town, just after a week, then I started having that desire. No, I should go to Congo. I should go to Congo. And then my desire, like, I'm only going for 3 weeks, then come back. And then when I arrived there, the temple, there were like so much politics going on in the temple.
Here?
No, in Congo. They even like rejected my recommendation letter. The president there, we thought, please, can you call Cape Town? We called Cape Town. We spoke with the temple president here. They spoke with my Guru Maharaj. They even spoke with Mahavishnu Maharaj, Maharaj, but they didn't want to get me in the temple. I was like, Krishna, what's going on here? And I just turned away, and then because I couldn't stay with my family because they are not devotees, they are totally against my Krishna consciousness life. So I have to call one of my childhood friend. Then he gave me a shelter. And then my Guru Maharaj told me to not put my feet in the temple. Then I was just thinking, what's going on in Congo? What's happening? Why Krishna brought me here? Why did Maharaj ask me to come here? Like, what's going on? And then after 2 weeks, then Mahavishnu Maharaj came in Congo. And I go there, he instructed me to go and serve Maharaj in the temple. Then after that, I realized that what was actually happening. Like, and whatever is happening in Congo and whatever is going on in the temple, at that time I was just like, this is actually what we were just exposing. Like, Maharaj was offended. Maharaj was offended. And then he was cheated by his own personal disciples. And they were even like preparing to kill him. So, yes.
Disciples?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I was like, and then, but still, Mahavishnu Maharaj still has so much faith in Congo. And he told me, no, you should stay here. Try to serve here. I was like, no, Maharaj, I can't handle all this. I'm still a baby. I'm still learning. He told me, no, you are too powerful. You should stay here. I said, no, Maharaj, I have to go back. And then once Maharaj left Congo, then COVID came. I had my passport. I could come back, but I couldn't do it. And then all those things, then there was like nothing to do.
So you were locked in Congo?
I was locked in Congo. I couldn't move. But the only thing that I was allowed to do, like, because COVID in Congo, it was a fake news. COVID never reached Congo. So government they are just making money out of it. So.
Yes, all over the world was like this.
The only thing that I was allowed to do in Congo was just Harinam and books distribution. But I couldn't even do books because I can't go to the temple and get books because I was not allowed by the management there. But I would just call one of my seniors, he's a disciple of Chaitanya Maharaj. I will call him, Prabhu, can you go on Harinam? And he will come and join me. We have so many videos of Harinam just clapping hand without katas. Nothing. And like I told him, like, Prabhu, in this situation there is nothing that we can do. Just Harinam. Just Harinam. And then the temple was locked for a year. Nothing was happening, just Harinam. And that woman who was managing the temple, she decided to leave the temple. And then we reopened the temple, and then things start organizing itself. Then all the devotees they will be coming. I would then preach to them like, You see what's happening in the temple? What's happening in Goma? Because you offended so great Vaishnavas. They're coming to teach you. They're coming to give you Krishna. But you offending them. But the position of Maharaj, they are so tolerant. But you don't see that. You're trying to take advantage of that. But what Krishna is not pleased with you. And you think that you'll be peaceful in your life. It's impossible. It can't be. It can't be. So I'm just reflecting there, like, we may see that even because brahmanas are, devotees are so tolerant and so humble. They don't try to show up. And then by being foolish, I like, let me take advantage of that and try to use it. But you don't know that you're actually doing bad to Krishna. And Krishna doesn't take that.
Yes, and you hurt yourself.
You're just hurting yourself. That's what the scripture says.
Yes.
You just see like, I'm just using this this devotee. I'm just doing it. But he's just humble.
Yes, you destroy your life.
You just destroy your life. That life. Thank you so much for
Thank you for sharing this story.
So I passed him with Chitaketa Maharaj and Parvati, and she cursed him for making the comment, but then he accepted it.
Yes.
And Lord Shiva said, his tolerance has defeated your aggression.
Yes, this very instructive story. Also, yes, Chitraketu. And this was not offense on his part even, because he was starting to laugh because it was so hilarious, in fact, that Lord Shiva was teaching these sages about renunciation and his wife was sitting on his lap. But he was not, and he was not offending Shiva because he understood Lord Shiva's position. But it was so funny to consider.
Wasn't this actually glorification?
Yes. And then Lord Shiva said this famous verse, Narayana parach sarve nakutashana bibhyati svarga pavarga narakeshvapi tulyartha darshana. The devotees don't care if they go to heaven or they go to hell. They just want to serve Krishna. They're so elevated personalities. Is there any other comment or question or anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Pramanandi Hari Hari Bol. Please accept my